Out in the wide Pacific, blue water hunters travel mysterious ocean highways. We follow in their wake, hoping to land the greatest fish in the sea. But few of us have ever seen them in action underwater as hunters of the deep. Each has its own method of attack, a watchful eye, a burst of speed, or perfect timing. How do ocean-going predators find their prey in the vast expanse of the Pacific? We're in for a high seas adventure as we see the deep sea hunters working in their own world for the very first time on film. The great sweep of the Pacific Ocean holds no landmarks to guide us, no visible trails that we can follow. Yet somehow, just below its surface, life seems to know where it's going. Far off in the blue void, a giant silver beast approaches. It flashes and wheels, changing shape at will. This monster is no single creature, but tens of thousands moving in tight formation, each individual seeking the safety of the group. They surge forward on a powerful current, a living storm in a great underwater wind. The current is the ocean's highway, but this open road offers them no protection. For predators, too, are riding this wild sea wind, and for them, it's a hunting ground. High above the clear waters of the eastern tropical Pacific, a frigate bird keeps watch. With eyes unmatched at finding prey, he searches for telltale signs. Scanning to the horizon, the bird looks for nervous water, where schooling fish are near the surface, and for the tracks of other hunters. Dolphins heading north on the great current. Common dolphins and spinners travel in small, flexible groups that band together in complex ocean-going societies. They live in a world without walls, an open field of blue. They're often accompanied by large schools of yellowfin tuna. Together, mammal and fish form a mysterious partnership. Perhaps they help each other find food. It's not known for sure. And there are others on their trail, large solitary shadows that could threaten the tuna themselves. A blue marlin, a giant, weighing in at close to half a ton. It's not by chance these hunters are assembling. They seem to sense something coming on the sea wind. It's the prize they seek so relentlessly in the empty blue waters, a massive school of little fish, large cousins of the anchovy. They're called anchovetas. Surrounded by tuna and herded tight to the surface, the anchovetas have nowhere to hide. The tuna feast at will, and the commotion attracts the ever-watchful frigate birds. The dolphins go after their share, following the school as it tries to flee into the deep. And wherever the dolphins go, the tuna follow. Striped marlin gather a small remnant of the school. They keep it tightly balled and take orderly turns, slicing through it to feed. It's a display of teamwork we never knew existed until it was captured here on film. In the excitement of feeding, the marlin literally light up. Tiny crystal-like structures in their skin expand and contract to change their silver stripes to electric blue. It signals they're about to strike. In the end, drifting scales are all that's left of the anchovetas. The sea wind moves on, marked at the surface by a glassy slick. A dorado enters the current, a dolphin fish on the prowl. To escape the dorado, a flying fish attempts to escape from the sea itself. With a powerful kick from its tail, it clears the water and glides up to 300 feet. But its splashdown attracts the attention of fish-eating boobies. For the fish, flying brings no freedom this time, just double jeopardy from above and below. Current stretches ahead, beckoning all manner of blue water travelers. An olive ridley turtle rides the sea wind, searching for crustaceans and small fish. But out here, she needs to be alert to danger at the surface. These hunters, too, cruise the currents, the best place to find their quarry in the open sea. Despite the aids of modern technology, fishermen still rely on dolphins and birds to guide them to a likely spot. These acrobatics have earned spinner dolphins their name. And below them, up from the deep, looms a great prize, a Pacific sailfish. The fishermen are in luck. A color change from silvery blue to cobalt means the sailfish is hunting. The great game fish is defeated, but it will not become just another trophy. Now, many anglers are out just for the contest between their skill and the fighting instincts of a powerful fish. The sailfish is gently towed beside the boat to force a rejuvenating flow of oxygen through its gills. When it can swim unaided, it's finally released. Now the ocean current is running along the coast of Panama. From here, it will sweep northward past Costa Rica. Where the current comes inshore, it mixes the coastal waters, bringing fertility and good fishing. But as the cold stream meets the hot tropical landmass, there's an inevitable clash. Energy courses between air and sea, and just as the sun's heat drives wind and weather around the planet, so it drives the course of ocean currents. Storms redistribute energy and even solid objects. Logs and fallen trees wash down from the tropical forest and are cast out into the sea wind. Locked in the slow embrace of the coastal current, they drift north. A few will fetch up on some distant shore. Most will become waterlogged, disintegrate, and sink. Their life on land is over, but now these trees take up a new role as a source of shelter in the open sea. A venomous sea snake is drawn to the floating refuge. He joins a company of fish that within hours has stationed itself beneath the log, and the snake is looking for fish to eat. Fish have a curious attraction to any floating object. Perhaps these logs mark fertile currents, or perhaps they are simply convenient mobile homes. Whatever the reason, every log has its crew. For larval barnacles drifting with the plankton, a log is a lucky landing place. Logs can drift for months, carrying their hitchhikers hundreds of miles. Even a turtle somehow discovers the open sea gathering and arrives like a living log, trailing its own personal school of fish. Logs can be a meeting place, somewhere to find a mate. These turtles may stay coupled for an entire day before finally separating and going their own ways. But for our turtle, there's no fulfillment here. She moves on with the current, northward up the Costa Rican coast, joining the host of tuna and spinner dolphins. Near shore, a free-swimming sailfish performs with a burst of energy. Along the coast, the current encounters obstacles that deflect every kind of wind. Mountains. Ridges run out to sea from the Costa Rican shore. Submarine cliffs and seamounts force the coastal current upward, and welling up with it like leaves lifted on the wind are countless numbers of fish. These are deep-sea lanternfish, luminous creatures of the twilight zone. But sometimes they rise to the surface during the day. Maybe they're drawn up by the promise of food, or maybe they are forced up to escape being eaten themselves. Mobile arrays slice through the school, stunning the fish with their wings. Each drifting point of light is a crippled lanternfish, an easy prey and not just for the rays. Tiger-striped with excitement, a Dorado singles out stunned lanternfish. Dorado are usually silver blue, but the blue can change in seconds to a bold hunting pattern. Soon the lanternfish are under attack from all sides. Drawn by the flash and glitter of the hunt, boobies plunge into the stricken school. To be startled by the sudden arrival of a fleet of sailfish. The lanternfish are scattered now, the school split into fragments. The sailfish can pick their prey. The sail gives these big fish superb control through tight turns and the ability to check their speed in an instant. It's a flamboyant key to their hunting prowess. The sailfish, too, display their hunting colors, changing from silver to dark blue. And this is a rarity, a white sailfish. This strange color appears to be no handicap. There are stragglers to the feast. They have come too late. A pod of pilot whales arrives on the scene, pausing at the now quiet surface. They rest for a moment, and then as one, they slip away into the deep. Below them, 3,000 feet of water fall away into the abyss, an underworld dark and cold. Here, other currents flow and other creatures drift. A juvenile African pompano, far from the reefs, where it will grow to 50 pounds. Another surprising visitor from the reef, a seahorse. Squid fly by a single lanternfish, flashing back reflected light into the water. Different this world may be, but not separate. It's still linked to the sunlit uplands of the sea, nourished by the sinking remnants of creatures from above. This is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Seamounts of solidified lava break the flow of deep ocean currents, forcing them up to mingle with the waters above. A stingray hunting along these submerged seamounts finds islands of plenty. Like clouds around a mountaintop, swarms of plankton cloak these drowned peaks, food for tiny shrimps, and they in turn provide for fish in abundance. Thousands of grunts circle the summits like a great flock of birds. For the passengers of floating logs, seamounts are a place to get off and a chance for others to get on, a kind of submarine bus stop. These underwater mountains are good spots for other travelers to stop along the road, a turtle trailing its entourage of fish. These are profitable places for hunters to linger. And seamounts provide social opportunities. A triplet of ardent turtles, the female almost drowned beneath the weight of her suitors. Over the generations, Costa Rican fishermen have learned the best places to set their lines. And frigate birds have learned there's an easy meal in bait alone. Although they are notorious thieves, frigate birds are a welcome sight at sea. It usually means land is not far away. Near the northern end of Costa Rica, a finger of land points into the sea. Like a range of mountains angled across the wind, it deflects the coastal current to the west. Here, the sea wind turns away from the shore out into the blue, taking any opportunists along for the ride. Logs are not the only drifters. In its journey up the coast, the current accumulates half the garbage of Central America, each discarded item with its own peculiar escort. Even a dead booby attracts a small gathering. Fishermen have learned to exploit the strange lure of flotsam. They make artificial logs by stringing together anything that will float. This concentrates the fish and makes them easier to catch with net or hook and line. Blue water hunters have always favored any kind of natural wreckage. Now they take advantage of these man-made lures. Young silky sharks are drawn to them by the hundreds. Our turtle has come here too, seduced by the prospect of an easy meal. But for her, it could be a fatal attraction. If she can't slip the noose, she'll starve. This time she's lucky. She's broken free. She has survived an ordeal, but it's impossible to know if she will recognize the danger next time. Most wild hunters are specialists of some sort. But humans exploit the food chain at every level. This boat is trawling for shrimp, blindly dragging a net across a flat seabed. The nets are most effective at night, and so trawlers set their gear in the fading light. A lone fisherman also heads out into the evening. This is not a commercial enterprise. He's fishing for food for his family. Anything extra will go to the local markets of Panama. He sets a gill net to drift close to the reef. In the dark, the fish won't see the net and they'll become entangled. Miles from shore, with his gear set over the side to soak, the fisherman prepares to spend the night gently rocking in the cradle of the Pacific. Below him, the waters are stirring with nightlife. Lanternfish flash in the dark, reflecting even the smallest light from the moon. A needlefish hunts the surface, its mirror image swimming alongside. And under the cover of darkness, a baby sailfish feeds on plankton. It's a mere 5 inches long, 5 or 6 years away from being a mighty game fish. A remora has somehow lost its ride and swims on alone, as squid rocket by on a high-speed hunt. A chain of salps simply drifts, snaring its prey on a dangling lure. Dawn brings a reckoning of the night's work. The fisherman hauls back his coarse net to find a meager reward for his vigil. The trawl net, however, is all-embracing. Only the fastest swimmers avoid it. The unwanted casualties go back into the sea. Just a tiny proportion of the catch is kept, just the marketable shrimp. But the boobies and the frigate birds do their best to reclaim the harvest. Sometimes the fishermen haul in an unexpected bonus. Our turtle's luck has finally run out. She too was caught in the trawl, but before they threw her back, the fishermen ripped the eggs from her body. She'll never return to lay on the beach where she was born. Now she's just one more floating island, drifting at the mercy of the sea wind. From the high watchtower of ocean thermals, frigate birds keep a lookout for any action below. A pod of spinner and spotted dolphins, shadowed by yellowfin tuna. Only the larger, sexually mature tuna can keep pace with fast-swimming dolphins. Young ones stay with drifting logs and debris. Using echolocation, the dolphins have homed in on a school of lanternfish. Dolphins may use sound to round up and drive their prey to the surface, perhaps even to stun them. When the dolphins attack, the lanternfish bunch tightly together. This makes them an easy target for the slashing lunges of the giant yellowfin tuna. Harried by the tuna, the surviving lanternfish dive to the safety of the deep. Drifting scales glitter in their wake like a phantom school, a ghostly image that's real enough to deceive diving boobies. The frenzy draws even more powerful hunters, marlin. And alerted by the telltale plunging of birds, hunters of marlin. Marlin can be attracted to a boat just by the sound of the engine, but now they must be lured to strike. A marlin can strip hundreds of yards of line from the reel in seconds. Saltwater anglers pay big money to fish for marlin, but this is no ordinary trip. This time, the catch has a sporting chance. It's tagged for research and released. Free again to ride the sea wind. Sometimes fish are caught a second time. One striped marlin covered 3,000 miles in 30 days. We have yet to discover the signposts that guide these hunters across the sea. For the frigate birds, a floating log may have a cargo to plunder. Frigates are drawn to any glint beneath the waves. But this is no feeding frenzy. It's a school of black skipjack tuna, and they're courting, flashing on their sides and seizing one another by the tail. Overhead, the log drifts on, and now it has a new companion. A manta ray with two remoras clinging beneath it. Mantas grow to be giants of 20 feet or more by feeding on the tiniest of creatures, plankton. They use those strange forward-pointing fins to channel plankton into their open mouths. The plankton is richest where the seabed rises, forcing the current up. So mantas can be a sign of shallow water, perhaps even of land. Another mark of change in the open sea, a shoal of big-eye trevally. These are fish of deep water banks and offshore reefs. The ocean travelers still trail behind our log, but now they mingle with other fish. Land, Cocos Island, a tiny speck in the vastness of the Pacific, 300 miles from the coast of the Americas. Shore crabs have hitchhiked on the log all the way from Central America. Oceanic islands gain many colonists this way. Others come as eggs or seeds stuck to the feet of far-ranging birds. The island breaks the flow of the current, sending it in swirling eddies into chasms in the rock. Here it brings food to grunts, snappers, and bright red soldier fish, fishes of the reef. As in all places where currents rise or mingle, the reef is very fertile. Fish flock here in profusion, but not only to feed. Trevally have come in from the sea beyond the reef for a very special service. They've come to be cleaned. That change of color and flaring of the gills are an invitation. They invite little cleaner fish to swim inside. The cleaner picks off tiny crustaceans clinging to the gills. Both partners benefit. The cleaner fish gets food, and the trevally loses its parasites. Cleaners come in many shapes and colors, and so do their clients. A hammerhead shark, another visitor from the open sea. Even sharks need an occasional valet service. That striped little fish is another cleaner, a king angel. It nips old skin and parasites from the shark's body. Leaving the islands far behind, the current courses on toward the sunset. And the log drifts with it. Somewhere far to the west it will sink. Till then it will trail its passengers and its hunters. But there's more to life than hunting. Sailfish gather to spawn, winding through the water in a slow, graceful dance. The female leads the parade, and when she releases her eggs, the males in her wake will release their sperm, allowing the sea to bring them together. The sea wind streams on, out into the vastness of the ocean. But deep below, a countercurrent runs east. This is where our journey turns and heads back toward land. The dolphins turn too, swimming against the current and into danger. This is the ultimate in high-tech fishing, and the rewards are worth the cost. The quarry is tuna, the big tuna that swim with dolphins. The hunters find them by following pods of dolphins from the air. The dolphins and fish are rounded up with speedboats, then encircled with a net, purse seining. The nets are huge, the size of several football fields. Inevitably, the dolphins are trapped too. Not long ago, several 100,000 dolphins were thought to perish each year in the tuna nets of the eastern Pacific. But now that's changed. The dolphins are remarkably calm. Some of them have been in nets before. Maybe they know what to expect, unlike the tuna. This is what the dolphins have been waiting for. At no small risk to themselves, fishermen force down the rim of the net and let the dolphins swim free. This tuna fishery is strictly policed. If a boat kills more than 100 dolphin, it's no longer allowed to fish by targeting on dolphin for the rest of the year. The dolphin-safe netting practice has reduced the kill to around 3,000 a year, but other creatures have no protection. Manta rays, turtles, sharks, marlin, and sailfish still fall victim to the nets. It's no easy task harvesting the sea without some unintended casualties, but in the long run, it's in no hunter's interest to break the links that bind this community of creatures together. We too depend on the ocean and its mighty sea winds, and we still have much to learn about its creatures and the currents they ride.
Dan Small continues his Nordic skiing lesson, and Jim Denomi visits with a craft maker at last year's Indian Summer Festival on Outdoor Wisconsin, coming up next at 9 here on Channel 10.
This is PBS.